man, screw what I was doing before.
I'm telling him like, honey, I just had this house and they just paid me $500 to clean their house. He was like, no way. Having thousands of unpaid invoices still probably sitting in my PayPal right now.
I also have a graveyard of domain names that have never been used, bought for projects that will never happen.
This is going to be my days, and like, it's just not my day.
In some ways, it becomes worse than a job if you have to give up everything else.
What you think will pattern the activities to match what you think.
People think I work hard, but I'm lazy these days.
Just do it.
This podcast has been sponsored by Nike. Hey, and welcome back to the Balanced Business Podcast. Today, I'm really excited to have a powerhouse of an entrepreneur and a business friend of mine for many years now, Jasmine Tates.
Hello.
Hey, Jasmine. Jasmine is going to be joining us to talk about the 3 different businesses that she's running and a secret project she's going to mention at the end. She's the founder of CEO Cleaning Academy, which coaches thousands of aspiring and current cleaning business owners on how to manage and grow their own cleaning business from scratch. It's very similar to what I do in the local business MBA program, but I think you're going to be really excited to see some of the difference of the approaches that we take in coaching our students and how students work through her business model as opposed to mine. So we're going to talk about that a little bit today. And we're also going to talk about her own virtual assistant agency, Vision VA. Similar, again, to what we do at Innova Local, but Jasmine takes a very different approach to when people need VAs and how they can utilize them effectively. So I want to share with you a very different approach to using a similar service. So Jasmine, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm really excited to talk to you about a lot of things.
Yes. No, thank you for having me. I was super excited when I saw that message. So I'm like, this is going to be an awesome conversation because we already have awesome conversations in the DM all the time. So this allows people to see what we talk about.
That's so cool, isn't it? You know, it was hard for me to come up with the questions today because I was thinking our paths have been so similar in business, but we're starting at very different points in life. So I was thinking, how can we open this podcast? And I wanted to open it. I think this is a good way to do it. So like each other, we both have a cleaning company. Mm-hmm. We both have a VA agency.
Yeah.
And we both coach cleaning business owners.
Yes.
Right? So we're coming at it from this foundation that's very similar. And I wanted to ask you, for my audience who may not be familiar with you yet, I suspect some of them will have discovered you, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook groups already. But for those of you who may not be familiar with you yet, could you give me a kind of high-level walkthrough of when and why you started your cleaning company and some of the challenges you've had growing it along the way? And what made you want to start the CEO Cleaning Academy when you got to the stage that you got to in your cleaning company? I think that might be a good way for us to learn a little bit about you.
Yeah. So, I started my cleaning company. It was out of a need. It was completely out of a need. I've been an entrepreneur for a while, but more so in like product base, right? A blog and selling t-shirts and things like that. But it was absolutely out of a need. My husband was at the time a truck driver working in the oil field in East Texas. And she just was not getting any business. I just had my youngest son and, no business, no money. I remember coming home with Jace Avery on my hip, literally, and there's an eviction notice on my door. Mm-hmm. I'm a new mom. I'm super stressed. I have my other 2 kids. It was just kind of like things were just falling apart, like literally right in front of my face. My husband is away trying to do whatever he could do. And I remember seeing cars pull out left and right. And eventually we had to move in with my parents. Luckily my parents moved here to Texas with us because we're originally from California. They moved here to Texas with us. So we were able to move my family of 5 at that time into my parents' very small 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment. I just remember just up late at night, just stressing and trying to figure this out and just praying and just trying to figure this out. And the idea of a cleaning business came out of nowhere. I don't want to say nowhere, but that was, I believe that's what God told me to do at the time. It really shocked me because where I'm from, I didn't see people paying people to clean their house. I grew up cleaning my house. I grew up seeing other people that clean this. I'm just like, what does this look like? So in my mind, because I didn't have access to information, it looked like me going to get cleaning supplies and going to clean people's houses. So I went to the dollar store. I bought me a mop, a bucket, some Ajax, and like all the cheap, cleaning products. And I Googled how to find cleaning clients. Because I didn't know what I was gonna do. I didn't know anybody really from Texas to ask people that I knew. And I found Thumbtack, and I got on Thumbtack, and I just started getting leads. And of course, I didn't know how to price. I didn't know how to do any kind of structure. I just accepted the client, and went to cleaning. So that was kind of like my beginning start of the cleaning business. Once business started rolling in, I remember my husband was like, how are you, like, where are you getting this cleaning from? Like, how are you getting this? Like, he just couldn't believe it, because even in his mind, he's all the way in East Texas, I'm telling him like, honey, I just had this house and they just paid me $500 to clean their house. He was like, no way. I was like, yeah. So, it grew really fast. I think I started at a perfect timing of season. It was like right around spring season, and it grew really, really fast. Our first month, I probably did close to 9K my very first month. That was enough to get us into our own place, and kind of just start that rebuilding back. And I learned a lot of information being in groups, watching you from afar, studying and reading comments, and, too shy to really ask, but just studying from afar, right? And during the pandemic, a lot of my friends from like a small Bible study group that I had lost work, so they were at home. And I was like, you guys know what? Like, during the pandemic, since you can't go anywhere, I want to teach you what I do. So that way, after it's done, you can start this business, because I know what it did for me. So I coached about 8 girls. I think 6 stuck out to the end. And each one of them was able to successfully open up a cleaning company. And they didn't even wait till after the pandemic. They started during the pandemic. And they were doing better numbers than I was. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, this is crazy. I was like, maybe I could teach more people this. So I created the entire course. And I was still at that stage of like, I'm shy, I'm nervous, I don't really know, people's going to question me. I'm not 7 figures, but I know what I know, and I know I taught it to other women that was able to take the information and run with it. And I really wanted to coach. I really wanted to be a business coach, but I wanted to teach mindset development, right? I really am a geek nerd for like mindset and EQ and just like all of those things. And again, I was just praying and just trying to figure out like, what's my next move? And God was like, teach the course. Like, you already have it. Like, there's other people that need to get out of a situation that you were in. So teach that. And I'm like, I don't want to be known as a cleaning business coach. And that was just all I was saying. And I put it out there, not really knowing what to expect. I was like, okay, I'm just going to be obedient. I put it out there. People were just joining. The Facebook group was just growing. And I remember being a new cleaning business owner, not doing the things the right way and suffering from it, right? Not having systems put in place, not having a booking system put in place, having thousands of unpaid invoices still probably sitting in my PayPal right now. And I wanted to really teach people not to make the same mistakes I did. Like, you don't have to go out there to clean. You could start this business remotely. You don't have to, deal with the same hiccups and situations that I did. So I birthed the CEO Cleaning Academy, and it kind of just evolved because I don't want to say ignorance, but my ignorance of being a true entrepreneur and knowing all the fundamentals of running a business, I knew I needed to teach people everything that came along with business, right? How to manage those funds, how to separate your accounts, how to handle expenses and marketing. So the CEO Cleaning Academy was birthed roughly around the end of 2021, beginning of 2022.
So we're going on 3 years now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'm excited.
So much was running through my mind when you gave that great introduction just now. There's a quote by a famous psychologist, Sigmund Freud. And I really felt this when you were talking about your early desperation for starting it, because I went through a similar period of absolutely no money at the start. And there's a quote. I can't do it exactly on the spot here, but it's along the lines of, when you look back, far in the future, when you look back on your past, the years of pain and struggle will strike you as the most beautiful years of your life.
Yeah.
Because that's where a lot of the transformative change is really happening. So I'm seeing that in you. And I got to be honest, it was a little spooky when you were talking there, because when you were talking about your own experience, it mirrored mine so closely. I was like, this is crazy. My first full month of business, I also did $9,000 in revenue. How weird is that?
That is crazy.
And even weirder, it came from Thumbtack too. And even weirder, the first job I got was like $300 or $400. It wasn't quite 500, but it was $300 or $400. And I remember thinking, man, screw what I was doing before. Right before I started the company, most people don't know this. I was desperately trying to find some online money. At that time, the only jobs were like blogging jobs or SEO related work. Most stuff still wasn't digital at that time.
Yeah.
And I started writing SEO articles for $50 an article on vampire Botox for a plastic surgeon.
Oh my goodness.
So I was spending hours writing an article on vampire Botox for $50. And then I finally got my first cleaning job and I got like $300. And I was like, wow. And I didn't even do the cleaning. I was like, I'm out of here.
Insane,
like, I'm never writing anything.
I'm convinced. Again. Yeah. That is so awesome. Vampire Botox. That's so awesome.
It's quite the niche. You're not going to, it's not one you're going to hear about unless you search for that exact term. You know? So I really like the introduction that you gave. And I feel very much the same when I'm coaching others. I don't think I'm this expert coach or anything.
Yeah.
I just want to save people time and pain. That's really what I want to save people. If I can give them, the Thumbtack templates that helped me, or if I can give them a simple hiring system that I use in my cleaning company to find good contractors, I want to give that to them, even if it's not perfect, because it'll save them months or thousands of dollars in time and effort. And just that, if you're just 2 or 3 steps ahead of them, and if you can give them that nudge and give them the starting point, they can often do the rest. Giving them that first couple steps to do is so essential. Yeah. And so I like that you took that leap too into coaching, because it's a scary one to take, to think someone's life is in my hands now. They're putting their everything. Often they're putting the only money and time that they have into your program, right? It's a huge responsibility. And so it's good to see that you thought, I don't need to be perfect. I can help them. And then you get to see your own student success, which is the coolest part of it.
It is so cool. Yeah.
Very cool.
No, it's definitely a gift to be able to be a part of somebody's journey. Just to know that it is a weight. Like you do feel like this weight of pressure. Like, I have this desire to help individuals. I want to give them the right information, because you truly want to see them succeed. And I'm really noticing a lot. I'm kind of going to be working and coaching a lot more. I don't even know the right word. I was trying to say holistically, but I don't even want to think that's the right word, because I understand as entrepreneurs that a lot of them have this desire to start a business and sometimes allow fear or mindset or self-sabotage. And I feel like us as individuals, as people in general, and as entrepreneurs, I think we could work a lot more on how we think and what we think, so that way we're not really holding ourselves back in business. I think that's a big part of business. I think a lot of people don't think about, because it was totally fear. I'm glad I took the leap, but I did sit on it for a year, until I was like, okay, Jasmine, like, just go. Perfect or not, turn the camera on, no equipment, no editing skills, because I knew that the moment I pressed play, that there's going to be people needing that information.
That's a big part of my teaching philosophy as well, is focusing on the high level perspective and the mindset that you take into something. And this is not to say what other coaches are doing is bad. It's great. But I notice most business coaches are very focused on metrics. They're very focused on your KPIs, the revenue that you're bringing in, your sales conversion rate. All of that stuff is really important. And I teach that as well. And I know you teach that too. But business is a part of life. It's not your entire existence, right? Your family is also part of your life. Your health is also part of your life. Your hobbies and your Bible group and these other essential parts of your life also matter. And I find students, when they start business, they may become totally focused on their business to the exclusion of everything else. Their friendships drop off. Their health suffers. There's a lot of incidental weight gain, for example, which is something that is a difficult topic to explore with people, but it's one that I notice a lot of, is that
Yeah.
health suffers. And I notice people may say, I'm really happy I started the business, but then often they've given up a lot. So for me, what I try and do with coaching these days is I coach people on the business part of it, but I also try and, like you, I try and make it a little bit more holistic, and I try and bring in some of the health aspects, some of the spirituality aspects, some of the other parts of life. You can't just exclude them anymore. It's not, if you do, your business is controlling you now, right?
Right.
It's, in some ways, it becomes worse than a job if you have to give up everything else.
Yeah.
So in your business, in your cleaning business specifically, was there a moment where you had a really difficult period of time when you were growing it? And if so, how did you get through that? I like to see, and if nothing comes to mind, that's fine. But I'm just curious if there was a particularly difficult time you encountered in your cleaning business where some of the mindset shifts and work that you do with students was applicable to you in your own business.
I think there was like each phase or like each level of growth required me to grow as well. So I remember there being a time to where I had to grow and learn systems. Me personally, I'm definitely a doer. I'm a think of an idea, I'm starting it like in the next hour. I'm probably buying a domain as we're talking, right? And just figuring it out and just doing the things. But I'm not too much of a planner or a systematic person, or, trying to like figure things out. So I think that stretched me the most, because in the beginning it was PayPal invoices to Stripe invoices to getting a piece of paper and writing my cleanings on and the names and texting them a screenshot of the address. So having to grow from that phase to like learning a system and a platform and figuring it out, putting it together, that stretched me a lot. I have dyslexia, so I learn different. And majority of my whole life, I thought that I couldn't do it. Like, I can't do this. Like, this is just what I can't do. So I took that same mentality when I started business. I knew what I was good at, and I knew what I wasn't good at. And I never believed that what I wasn't good at, I could ever do myself. So having to learn things that I thought I couldn't do totally stretched me. The next growth level was the monetary part with the investment. Because I was investing a little bit with Thumbtack leads, right? But I knew that in order for me to grow more, I needed to get into Google and Yelp and Google Ads and SEO, but that cost for more money. And because of the financial setbacks that we were in, I had this thing to where I feel like I always had to have a certain amount of money in the account. And I would pretend to play broke in a sense, like, oh, no, we're broke. Like, we can't touch anything. So I had this negative mindset with having to invest in money or to invest money in the business, because I felt like if I invest too much, we're going to end up back there. I'm going to end up, getting repos and and evictions. So I feared a lot with investing large sums of money in the beginning to grow. And I knew that theoretically, I knew that, okay, if I can invest in more, increase my lead spend, increase my lead dollars, I can get more clients. But in the beginning, I didn't see it like that. I just saw money coming out the bank, less money in the bank. So that was another area that I really, really had to grow in as well.
I feel you very much on that one. That was so difficult for me too when I hired my first marketing agency, and they said there's $1,500 a month agency fee, and you also have to pay for ad spend. I had the money in the bank, but I was getting heart palpitations. Yeah. I was like, man, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if I can do this. It's a lot of money to give someone without
a lot
of
money. I know. I remember the SEO, my first SEO agency I went with, and it was like, I remember having to have this conversation with my husband. He was like, honey, and he said it's the long game. So we may not even see it back for a couple of months. And he was like, and it's how much? And I was like, yeah. So no, that was a time, but I kind of just had to just pull the Band-Aid and just like sink or swim, because the more I thought about it, the more I didn't want to do
it. That's a really good one. It's funny you mentioned the domain names a minute ago. I also have a graveyard of domain names that have never been used, but bought for projects that will never happen.
Yep.
But then I renew them because I think, oh, maybe this year. And then Namecheap.com has earned so much money from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm now to the place, though, I literally saw an email today that said your Google space is going to be expiring. And I opened it, let me look at the domain, like, oh, yeah, I could let that one go.
Progress.
Yeah, progress.
A big one I want to ask you, because it's one that you talk about a lot on your YouTube channel, is about making the transition from being a worker to being a boss, and actually going from zero to something in your cleaning business, right? So I think there's kind of maybe 2 or 3 big leaps that someone in the cleaning business world is going to go through in their life. The first is going typically from employment, whether that's as a cleaner or something else, into the cleaning business world and owning a cleaning business. Typically, the second is getting out of the field and managing the cleaners. And then the final one is kind of managing the managers, right?
Yeah.
But for someone who hasn't taken the first step yet, they're still an employee or they're still a cleaner, still going and cleaning houses. What is some of the kind of core advice that you would want to give them to actually make the leap from being a worker to being a boss of a cleaning company?
For somebody that's cleaning in the fields, I dealt with this a lot. I didn't clean too long, maybe about a month or 2, but I had my kit in the trunk just in case for a no-show, so maybe 3 months. But the thing was just fear, because we're nervous to trust people with our baby. Like, these are my clients. I've had to clean for them. I don't know if they're going to know what to do. And the fear of lack or less of income, because now you're saying that I have to split this amount of money. And it's almost a thing also of limited belief, thinking that they won't be able to make up the difference with building more clients. So more so when I'm speaking for those, it's just really just talking again to their beliefs and their fear, and then showing them how they can take these steps and build and replace them income. I feel like sometimes people just need to see the equation, and when I kind of break it down, it makes more sense to them. But I am having to deal with their mindset and their limited belief. I still have some students that I'm trying to talk to because they say, well, I have to clean for this one client because he says that if I don't clean, he's going to leave. No, just let them leave because you're going to replace him, right? But they're like, no, I can't because I'm counting on that money. But that money can also be replaced. So it's more so, talking to that and then just showing them what this process looks like. And them understanding that no one's going to clean as good as you. No one's going to do this as good as you, but you're going to be able to grow your business much better working on it than in it. And you're really limiting yourself and the growth of your business by trying to stay at the level that they're currently at.
Very good answer. And I'd add one tip to that is, have you ever heard of a mentor in the cleaning world, Pam Washington, by any chance?
Yes.
Yes. So she mentored me very early on, back in 2016, 17. And I had almost exactly the same issue. And so I wanted to share a tip that she gave me, which I think for anyone making the transition from being a cleaner is very congruent with the advice that you just gave, might be helpful. If you have clients who actually say to you, you can clean for me, but I don't want anyone else to.
Yeah.
One of the things you can do is bring one of your new cleaners as a helper along for a period of time, 1 month, 3 months, whatever, right? So say, can I bring a helper I'm still going to clean for you for now, but could I bring a helper with me? I need some help with it. And you bring them along for the first few cleans. Then a month or a couple months later, you let them know, hey, I'm actually transitioning out of the cleaning. Johnny or whoever is the cleaning assistant at that time is going to be taking over. I know that you like them and you're comfortable with them now. Would it be okay if he took over the cleanings from this point on for you? And I find that gradual transition out of some of those more difficult clients.
Yeah.
You will still lose 1 or 2 of them, to be honest, but some of them will be fine with that transition once they see that they can trust who you assign to the job now.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of people, a house cleaning service and a house cleaner is such an intimate thing that when they find someone good, they're so afraid to let you go, you know? And if you can show them that, hey, you also know other good cleaners who can do it, they're often okay going, fine, I'll let you go and I'll stay with you.
Yeah. No, I definitely like that transition because it's more of a warm transition versus just like a cold, so I definitely like that. I'm going to definitely put that out there and let them know that, because I hate the fact that I feel like they're letting somebody kind of hold them hostage from being able to fully let go. So I'm going to use that tip.
The other big one is pricing, but pricing with old clients, but we'll get to that another day.
That's definitely.
That's a fun one.
That is one. I kind of just let people know, like, are you prepared to let them go? I mean, because you know, a lot of the old clients, they get really used to that old pricing that, you know, yeah, I pretty much lost all of mine once I figured out that I was pricing too low.
That's the difficult part for a lot of solo cleaners when they start building it, is they were pricing as a solo cleaner before. And so your client got used to paying you as a solo cleaner, but now you start pricing as a company. That equation changes a lot from the customer's perspective. So there's a little convincing there you have to do. But I'm really curious. So in my local business MBA program, I have a couple of high-level principles that I try and impart to my students and that I try and include in the course. And a big one is around balance in your work and life. Another is around the 80-20 principle, so efficiency of results, right? And freedom of time and geography. Those are a couple of the principles that I try and build into the program. I'm curious, for the CEO Cleaning Academy, for your membership and your course, do you have any high-level principles or a framework that you use, that you walk people through, that you try and impart to them, that you consider kind of essential principles that they need to build into their business?
I haven't in the past as made it as formal as that, like actually, you know, create a curriculum around it or put it in the curriculum. Now, it's definitely a familiar speech if I'm talking live for anything. If I'm talking live about anything, it'll always come out. And again, it is the mindset and working on fear and limited beliefs. That's probably one of the biggest thing that I will tend to harp on when I talk to entrepreneurs, especially the very beginning entrepreneurs, is trying to help them to get over that fear and to get over that limited belief where they feel like they're not able to achieve the level of success that they think that they can, and they're self-sabotaging themselves, and you know, just lowering their standards because they feel like, I see other people do it, but I can't do it. So I think that's what my common speech that I talk a lot about. And I've been reading this new book, or kind of like this series of books. I can't think of the author name, but was What Do I Say When I Talk to Myself? I don't know if you ever heard of that book.
I've heard the name, but I haven't read it.
It's an older book. It's a popular book. And then he has another book that's called about neuroplasticity.
I've heard of that one. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So I've been reading a lot about this and really changing even myself, you know, even as I grow and I have to, you know, work on managing and multitasking a lot of different things. I still talk a lot of negative to myself. I still self-sabotage myself a lot. I still limit myself on what it is I think that I can truly accomplish, or the level of success that I think that I have is never good enough. You know, learning about this, I feel like whatever season that I'm in and that I'm learning a lot about, it tends to pour out into the community. It tends to pour out when I'm speaking live or doing a live, you know, Q&A or Facebook Live or whatnot. But learning about this, I see the patterns. You know, once you become aware of something, it's so easier for you to notice it, right? Like, you know, we got to really talk because you're kind of negative on yourself. You don't hear the words, but I hear it, right? So when I see the speech, especially in our Facebook groups, and, I didn't get this, or, I didn't close this, and they don't understand how powerful that is, compounding more negative in their business and in their thought patterns, because what you think will pattern the activities to match what you think. If you think little, then you're going to do little. And if you do little, then you're not going to be able to have, you know, a successful business. So trying to get them to understand that business is not going to be all, you know, unicorns and Cocoa Puffs all the time. They will come with learning curves.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but it's a part of business. It's a part of growth. And you have to take the curveballs along with the hard drives, just like as everybody else, but trying to just better their speech and their thought process and then what they tend to harp on during the part of their business. Because maybe not everything has to be shared. Not everybody, not every negative thing has to be shared. Maybe it's a thing that can just be internalized. You know, have have a come to Jesus moment and just know that this is just part of the business and I'm going to keep on pushing.
Let's just stick with that for 1 second because I think that's important. And I just want to illustrate that with a real life example. So when we first start out in business, any small thing that goes wrong feels like a catastrophe, right? When I got my first 1-star review, I was freaking out for like 3 days.
It's like the Himalayan.
My average star rate is going to drop. No one's going to book me ever again. I'm ruined. Like the extreme anxiety of that tiny thing was so disproportionate at first.
Yeah.
But I find over time as a business owner, it just from a mindset perspective, as you go through those dips and those trots and those rises, you start to kind of internally be very calm through it all. So for me now, I can get a really big client account. Before I would almost cry because it was so much money. I'd be so happy, right? But now I'm just kind of like, cool, let's get the cleaners, let's grow.
Yeah.
And conversely, I sometimes lose some of my bigger accounts.
Yeah.
Or something pretty bad happens. And before I'd be like tearing my hair out, but now I'm just like, it's all right. We'll go get some more,
Go get some more.
I find internally I'm very calm now when the good stuff happens, but also the bad. I'm not detached, but I'm just kind of calm and able to kind of look at it from a business owner perspective now, rather than a strictly emotional reactive perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of what you're getting at a little bit, right?
Yeah.
The mindset that you take as you grow the business and as you experience those difficult challenges, and there are many of them coming ahead.
There are.
You get to start to internally work on yourself too.
Yeah, no, definitely. Because, I'm just a strong believer that working on yourself is working on your business. And it really saddens me when, I'll check on a student that I maybe haven't seen in a long time. And they're like, oh, I gave up, I quit, I couldn't do it. It's not meant for me. But like you said, like it's just a part of the business and it will get easier, right? You will grow. It's every challenge that you go through is there's something meant to learn from it. And if we can learn from it and keep on going and just don't quit, stay consistent, just don't quit.
Very true. I think the serenity prayer is an essential one for business owners. If you can internalize that, it will really help.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of have a small one around work-life balance, since that's kind of what I talk about a lot. And if you don't have that balance, that's okay. But I'm curious about your perspective on it, because I know you're in a big growth phase with several of your companies right now.
Yeah.
So it might be a work hard phase rather than a relax hard phase. But I'm curious for you and when you talk with your students, what is your perspective and what are some of the lessons that you try and impart when you try and talk about work-life balance, about living rather than just doing business? Do you talk about that with your students at all?
I do not, because I'm not there yet. I remember last year, so not this New Year's that came, but last New Year's, I was writing like, oh, I want balance. This year I'm going to have balance. And I went through the whole year, there was no balance. And then, so this year I realized that I have to create my balance. So I told my husband that I'm going to create a day off, and Sundays are going to be my day off, like no calls. And that is kind of very hard for me, like to not do anything, not to pick up a laptop. It's like no phones. So I have not yet perfected the work-life balance. Even on vacation, I was taking calls and working on my laptop. So I have not yet perfected that. So I feel like I can't really teach on it yet, because I don't even know what that would actually look like. It sounds lovely. I'm just not there yet.
Thank you for being honest. And that's okay. You're going through a particularly high growth phase right now. That's fine. Sometimes life requires that of you. So, so it doesn't have to be a perfect 4 hours of work a day and 2 hours of exercise. Like that's a beautiful imaginary thing, but it never happens for a single human being in all of history where they have this perfect balance, right?
I know.
It just doesn't exist.
I try. Like I read the book, The 5 a.m. Club, like so many times. I'm like, oh, this is going to be my days. And like, it's just not my day.
The only reason I get up at 5 a.m. now is because of the dog. I've thought about that. So many people on YouTube, everything, they say, get up at 5 a.m. it'll change your life. And I could never do that until the dog forced me to
the dog.
Yeah. You're right. You had to have something else pull you along begrudgingly. It was torture. Okay now, but it was torture.
Right.
A little bit of time. I have a couple questions for you left on the CEO Clean Academy. Then I have a big one for you at the end. I wanted to ask you, just looking ahead, so you've laid this really good foundation down with the CEO Cleaning Academy. You've got a starting course that people can walk through to get everything set up and launched. You've got a membership that they can go through for a little more advanced coaching and personal attention from you. You've got a free community that you've been very giving of your time and your attention to people. I wanted to ask you, A, how everything is fitting together in the long term, and B, what do you envision kind of the ultimate goal of the CEO Cleaning Academy to be? If someone were to join today, what is your hope for them when they come out the other end of that? Like, what is it, the ultimate vision of what you have for your CEO Cleaning Academy?
Yeah. I love my Facebook group. It's such a great community. I remember first building it and just being like a couple of people and me having to be very present and like urge people to respond back. And I'm having to tag names, be like, give me your input. And once I saw other people commenting first or other people providing advice or encouragement, I like, oh, like now we're on to something. Like now this is a community. So I just didn't want to be just another group on Facebook. And I love nurturing that group because I understand that there's several people in this group from various different walks of life, different walks of their cleaning business, different walks financially if they're able to invest into the CEO Clean Academy. And I just remember, I think I tried to teach based upon all levels that I was at during my initial journey when I didn't have it. And I'm lurking in the comments and seeing what Chris is responding to this person by and seeing what Chris is saying to this. And that was how I initially learned about the business. So I wanted to provide information and not really gatekeep it to where I've had people message me and they're like, oh my goodness, like I've just launched my cleaning company and I just brought on my first client or I just made a 1K. And they're not even a student, right? They're just learning and gleaning based upon the YouTube and the Facebook group. And that, I just love that so much because that was me. I didn't have any money to do that initial investment. And then we just launched the 2.0 course of the CEO Clean Academy, which took a very long time for me to create because I understood that not everybody learns like me. So I needed to break things down in more detail than in just kind of giving all at one time. Beforehand, it was like, hiring, leads, response, SOPs, right? But now I actually broke things down much more. But the one thing that I love, the feedback that I get is from people being able to say that they easily understand the information. That is super easily digestible. And I didn't think I really even knew I was doing that on purpose. But because of my dyslexia, like that's how I learn. So I teach like I learn. And the most common thing is like, oh my goodness, like I can really understand this and actually do the things that you're saying to do. So with the new 2.0 course, it's just broke down each step in more detail for everybody to easily understand and put the pieces together and put the whole blueprint together for them to launch from not having any information on the cleaning industry at all to being able to launch their business. So I'm super, super excited about that. The goal is to have people come in here into the academy and to learn everything about the business, right? Learning what a cleaning service is, what are the different services, how does it work, how do I find the right person, how do I build the right team, how can I put the right team in place on the back end to manage the company for me so I'm not even having to handle calls and cleaning, interviews and things like that. So the goal is for somebody to be able to enter into the CEO Clean Academy and launch a successful business. And then with the additional master classes, that's teaching them on bookkeeping and that's teaching them on, how to actually manage the business on its own because you have the cleaning business, right? But then you have your business needs to be managed well. So we have a lot of different master classes in there that I brought professionals because I don't know all the things, but we brought somebody in there that taught the profit first model, somebody that came and taught on actually how to set up your business properly with the right LLC or a DBA, or do I need an LLC? Not everybody needs an LLC to start off with, even though everybody thinks they need an LLC. So we brought on a business attorney to teach that. So that is the goal, is for somebody to be able to come through, learn everything within the industry, grow and launch their business, and hopefully get to six figures within the first year.
Congratulations on 2.0's launch.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I got to check this out. It's so funny. I've been working on 2.0 for ages too, but I'm so slow these days. People think I work hard, but I'm lazy these days.
You're enjoying your dog.
She is as hard as starting a business. I'll tell you that. She's the sweetest, most pure creature, but man, it's a lot.
She's massive.
Yeah, she's not small anymore, and she can. I jog with her sometimes in the morning. I'm not a jogger, but I jog out of necessity with her these days. I'll jog for a couple kilometers, and I'm tired after. But she might be a little sweaty, but 30 minutes later, she's ready to go. She's ready to play.
Oh,
and I'm like, man, I'm gonna need like a day's break here.
Sound like you need to have like a dog walking service. That's a service base.
I've thought about it a lot. I tell you, I've really thought about this one a lot because it's not a big thing in Japan. A lot of people have pets here, but it's not a particularly pet-friendly country. And so there are dog trainers you could send them to for the day. There's a couple of dog runs that might accept them for a few hours, but dog walkers are very rare. Yeah. And if you do find one, it's almost like applying for a job. You got to interview each other. There's a whole process you have to go through. Whereas in America, it's like, all right, I trust you. Here's my dog.
Yeah, here's my dog.
I've thought so many times about starting a cleaning company in Japan or a dog walking service, but there's so many unique barriers to entry specifically in Japan as a country that I just haven't. But there's so much opportunity here for business owners who do want to put in the extra effort to build something here.
Nice.
But yes, it's been on the mind for a long time. So I wanted to ask you one final question on the CEO Cleaning Academy. So this is a little bit of a more general question, but you talk with a lot of potential students and you talk with a lot of new students. And so I wanted to ask you, what are some of the common misconceptions or some of the most common obstacles that you see aspiring business owners face who want to start a cleaning business, but they just haven't committed yet? Are there some common misconceptions they have or some specific obstacles that they just can't seem to get over that you try and help them over?
Yeah, I think the two or a couple of the most common ones is one that they think that they'll have to clean. So trying to get them to understand that you could operate this business remotely without you having to clean. That is a barrier sometimes to get them to understand that concept. And also because I teach off of the 1099 contractor model, trying to also help them understand that you can't do a lot of the training.
Yes, it's a big one.
Right. So a lot of them want to train. When new entrepreneurs start a business, they're really excited about a lot of the aesthetics. Let me get my logo, right, and the website. So they kind of bring that same mentality with the cleaners. They're like, oh, we get to have shirts and they can have, everything matching and I could do training. I just designed this full handbook. And I'm like, so trying to educate them on those laws, especially depending on where they may live within the U.S., because California is definitely much more of a stricter state for contractors.
Oh, yeah.
Very strict. Yeah. So helping them with that. Also letting them know that this business, which I super, super love, is, which it could help, but you don't have to start this business with a lot of upfront capital. You could potentially start this business with a less amount of capital and build up to it. Now, if you have a lot of capital, liquid funds, or access to business funding or credit, that's awesome. You may be able to grow your business faster, but it doesn't take a lot to start this business. So helping them understand that getting over that hurdle really helps them to understand, okay, I can do this business.
Ooh, that was a really good one, actually. So I really find this too, when a lot of employees come to me to start a business, that money barrier they think is a barrier isn't a barrier in reality. And they say, some people come to me, I have $10,000 to invest, or what business would you start with $50,000? And I kind of laugh and I put it in an index fund. You only need $1,000. Like if you have $1,000, you have enough to get your LLC, you have enough to get your website up, you have enough to pay your first cleaners for their first jobs, and you have enough for a couple $100 for marketing, right? Yep. It's tight. Yeah. But you can do that if you're careful and wise with your money. Yeah. And so I love that people think that they don't need that they need a lot of money to do it, but then I get to tell them that actually you don't need a lot of money. Here's the exact costs you could use to start this in the next month.
Yep.
And that breaks down the barrier live on the call. And it's so cool to see that because they're like, maybe I can do
Maybe
this,
I can do it.
Maybe
Yep.
this thing that I thought was preventing me really isn't preventing me. So
Yeah.
I think that's the big one that I see too, is the money one. It's funny. I see a lot on both sides, actually. So I see that a lot. But on the other end of it, because I started my cleaning business in college, a lot of college age guys find me and they want the whole, remote, easy cleaning business thing too. And I kind of have to take them back down to earth. And I say, yeah, you can invest your money, but you still have to work hard. This is still a business, and you still got to interact with people every day, and you still got to answer the phone a lot that first year. And they kind of, I can see them being taken down.
Like the little balloon is losing air a little bit. No, yeah. We offer a done for you service. And a lot that I've been focusing on a lot with our clients this year is really getting them to learn the business. Because they'll come in like, oh my goodness, like you're going to do it all for me and I can get a VA. I don't have to learn nothing. No, you still need to learn and know the business just in case you have to step in. If there's an irate customer or whatever may happen, you still want to be confidently understandable of what goes on in your business. So I've experienced that a lot on calls too. They're like, oh, so I have to learn it. Yes, you have to learn it.
Oh, I have to work?
Right, you have to work.
Sorry, you have to work. Yes. Yeah. Very cool. And Jasmine, I wanted to end with a special question for you. It's a question that I always ask guests in one form or another. And I wanted to ask you this. We're both entrepreneurs and we've both kind of got this bug of starting new projects, even though we already are juggling a lot of projects. We can't quite stop, right? So I wanted to ask you, is there a project that you've had on the back burner for a while that you really want to start? Or is there another project that maybe you haven't announced publicly or launched yet that you're working on? I'm very curious what's next for you and what you're doing next in terms of projects and businesses and what's on the horizon in the near future for you.
Yeah. So like you said, entrepreneurs, we're always starting something. We have 100 domains inside of our Namecheap accounts. I'm actually working on developing a software right now, which I'm super excited about. We started January of last year, so I'm hoping that it'll be done in the next 6 months or so. But we're currently creating a booking platform. It's called BusyBook. So this is my perfect version of a booking management software for residential cleaning companies.
Very cool. And so you've already got the MVP that you're working on.
Yeah.
And I'm curious. So this is it's a big undertaking. I haven't built booking software myself, but I did build a small one for the VA industry for my VA company. It was a whole saga. But I have some small idea of just how complex and expensive and difficult that is to do. I'm curious, when you've got this kind of version 1.0 built out, what will it look like? What are some of the unique selling points you think will be attractive to people who might want to switch from an existing booking software they have over to BusyBook?
One of the things that I'm really working on with this platform is simplicity. I think I kind of said that a lot throughout the things. Like, I really like things to be as simply functional, like to be able to provide all the functionality that's needed, but without all of the added confusion. When I finally got into using booking platforms, and I used probably all of them or tested all of them because I'm a big tester of things before I jump into something. I kind of already knew what I was doing. I kind of already knew like the needs that I needed the software to do. But because I work a lot with brand new cleaning business owners, ones that never use the software, when I'm having to train them on different softwares or tell them about different softwares, they're having a lot of hard times with the setup or how to use it, what's the functionality of it. With BusyBook, the goal is to make this process a high functioning but simple system, something that will be able to help them manage all the day-to-day with, scheduling, managing their cleaners, their clients, handling all of that, hiring and onboarding process for their business, but in a very much more simpler process.
Very cool. I'm all about simplicity. That's
Yeah.
very much the approach that I try and take too. If there's an opportunity to have someone set up easily without all the additional setup, that's huge. I think that's one of the major problems in the booking industry. I find myself to be pretty technically literate, pretty skillful in terms of basic tech and website creation and so on. But even I struggle a lot with some of the booking softwares out there.
Yeah.
We're using one. I won't name them and shame them, but we're using one for my own cleaning company right now. And once you get it set up, it's an amazing software.
Right.
But the initial setup period is painful.
It is.
And you have to hire someone else to do it for you because it's so complicated. And I just think, you know, if a new cleaning business owner with no experience comes to me and I tell them to use this software, they're screwed for like a month almost trying to figure it out. They almost need to spend money just to get their account set up, which is crazy to me, right? A software should be so easy for their customers to sign up and get running. It shouldn't be more than 15 to 20 minutes, right? They shouldn't be spending hours setting everything up.
I created a specific masterclass just for software setup. It's a 2-day masterclass where we set up all of their platform that they'll need to know to launch and manage their business. And on the booking platform alone, that schedule is a 7-hour class.
There you go. It's something that it's good that you did and it's very useful, but you shouldn't have had to do in the first place, right? Yeah. Right. I like that. I very much think this is going to be a very cool software. I haven't got to see it yet, but it's one that I'm excited for, especially if it's simple, it's easy to use, and it's tailored to the cleaning industry. That sounds like a good software to me. So.
Yeah, well, you know, you're going to be the first one to see it. So I'll definitely send you my demo link as soon as we get the first phase up and running.
Jasmine, before we wrap up, I want to direct people to your main website, ceocleaningacademy.com. That's where you can find Jasmine's membership course. That's where you can find her community. And a lot of the content that she shared today, you can find that at ceocleaningacademy.com. I wanted to ask you, just finally, before we leave, is there any final things that we should be talking about that we're not? Or is there any final parts of advice you might want to give some of the students or the audience today who are thinking of making that leap from being a worker to being their own boss?
I think people hear it all the time, but it would just do it, you know? Don't waste time. A lot of time, we waste a lot of time overthinking, overanalyzing, trying to make sure if it's the right fit, when sometimes you really don't know if it's the right fit until you do it. But just do it. This cleaning service, I think there's so much valuable information that's out there now. If you need help, there's access to information everywhere. I'm super glad that we live in this society of information overload. But just do it, right? Anybody could be able to launch this business. There are some different tools and systems that you can learn, but don't let any fear stop you from starting this business. You don't need a lot of money to do it. Chris broke it all the way down for you, how much you would need to be able to start this company. And you don't have to do the cleaning. You don't have to go into people's homes. Yes, you're still going to have to do the work, but you don't have to do the physical cleaning yourself.
Just do it.
Just do
it. This podcast has been sponsored by Nike. Just kidding.
Give me my check. No. It's the most cliche, you know, but I always I want to think of something super wise and witty to say, but
that's the important thing. What you said is taking the first step, right?
Yeah.
Any business that you ever start, or any side project, or any career that you start, it has a starting point where you're going to have a little anxiety. You're going to have a barrier or an internal conflict about whether you should do it or not, or you should go forward or not. And it's the same thing with business. The biggest barrier you're going to face isn't money. It isn't time. You might think it is. You might have 6 kids and 2 full-time jobs, and you'll still be able to find the time if you really want to do it. It won't be easy, but you can find the time if it's something that's really important to you. The biggest barrier is going to be a mindset barrier that you're going to have to overcome internally on if you can make it work or not, on the fears that you have. So I like what you're ending with, is just do it, because it's a simple piece of advice, but it's also an essential piece of advice for getting started. So Jasmine, thank you so much for joining me on the show. It's been a real pleasure getting to talk to you. I really hope we get to have you back on when Busy Book is launching.
Yes. Thank you. I'm super excited. Hopefully I can get you also for the conference this year too.
See.
I had to throw that plug in on live. So
thank you so much. And
yes.
we will see you soon.
All right. Have a good one.